One arrives in Bahrain ready for the next round of the Formula One season, and a specific partner that is ready to re-arrive into Formula One is Petronas. Petronas have said that they are set to rejoin Formula One, with Mercedes, of course, being the obvious favourites to re-partner with Petronas for next season. Now, Mercedes and Petronas have had a very, very successful time together as partners. Of course, we've seen multiple world championships for the team under the name of Petronas. However, Mercedes decided to break away with Petronas as Petronas just weren't able to provide the sustainable levels that the team was looking for moving forward. So Mercedes went their own way and Petronas decided to leave the sport. However, Petronas does believe that they now have everything that they need to make sure that their specific fuels and everything else that they'll be using to help in Formula One is going down the net zero carbon footprint route. And they believe they are ready to carry on with that process and further accelerate it heading into next season. And of course, Mercedes are the clear favourites to re-partner with Petronas. But a very interesting thing came out from Petronas, and they said that they were actually wrong to leave Formula One in the first place, but they are ready to get back into the sport and be a part of something that they truly love. A big name heading back to Formula One. Of course, Mercedes are the favourites, but nothing confirmed yet from Mercedes. We'll have to keep an eye on that one throughout the course of the season, but we could be seeing a famous name returning to Formula One next season. Taking a look at the race news then heading into this weekend, it was Audi and McLaren that headed the field in practice. Now, McLaren have been a team that have constantly been at the front of the field this season and have been for quite some time, but a team that's definitely dropped off from the past 2 seasons has been Audi. So it was quite a little bit of an interesting surprise to see the team at the front in practice. Mercedes and Red Bull sat close behind those top 2 teams in practice. One team and one driver that was having a lot of trouble in practice was Lewis Hamilton. He was suffering with a lot of engine problems throughout the course of FP1 and FP2, very much limiting his running. He is a man that is definitely on the back foot and was struggling with setup as he couldn't quite manage what the car was doing, especially when the engine was having problems. Teams are currently unsure whether the 1-stop or the 2-stop will be the fastest strategy heading into this weekend. Bahrain has particularly been a race whereby a lot of teams tend to mix up their strategies. Sometimes the 1-stop has paid off, sometimes the 2-stop has paid off. So it's a case of which one do you want to go for. And Renault were happy with their long runs heading into this weekend. Renault have been a team which have been very much kind of nowhere throughout the course of the weekend, but they were very, very competitive on the long run pace, clearly showcasing that their car isn't quite there in qualifying simulations, so they put their focus into the long runs. But let's see if that makes a difference as the teams and drivers get ready for qualifying and the race for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here. Welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of the F1 journey for you guys today here on the channel. Today we're here for round number 4 of the season here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. And as you would have checked out from the last episode, if you haven't checked that one out, by the way, go do so right now. But we got our season off in style at the Singapore Grand Prix, taking a dominant victory here at that track. Now we're here at Bahrain, yet another circuit which tends to favour the player more than the AI, so hopefully we can have another good race here. Heading into qualifying then, this was my second lap. Obviously the first lap just getting a feeling for the track. Second lap here, not too bad actually, only 0.2 of a second behind my teammate Gasly, and of course qualifying is the biggest, weakest point. But unfortunately here, on our second flying lap here, we tried our hardest to actually improve on my lap, but I wasn't able to. I was a couple of hundredths of a second out, which means that we're going to be starting the race from P12 on the grid. So here we are then on the grid for the start of the Bahrain Grand Prix, and as you can see, we've got the option to do a 1-stop or we can go with the 2-stop. Now the 1-stop is a very effective route, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the 2-stop strategy and go aggressive. So here we go then for the Bahrain Grand Prix. 5 lights and it's underway then, a very quick light sequence there. Straight away then the soft compound tyres come into effect there, immediately passing Lando Norris, who does not get a good start in the Jaguar. We're going to dive down the inside of a couple of cars here. One of those being my teammate Gasly there, who gets involved in the act. Ricardo gets overtaken as well. Up into 8th place already now as we get the run up towards turn 4. Here's Sam now on the outside line there. I'm trying to make him go a little bit further to the outside line, but we're going to dive it down the inside of Sam into turn 4, and that's another place gained straight away off the bat, and up into 7th place now as we make our way through towards the middle sector here, running a little bit wide actually through there. That's going to cost me some time. Sam comes back at me now as we go in towards this section of the circuit, but luckily he actually backs out of it and doesn't go for a move down the inside into the hairpin as we now accelerate here down towards this very tricky braking zone of turn 11 here. Very easy to lock up the front left, and we're absolutely fine though on that occasion here. But it's a great start for us though, starting in P12 automatically now. We're up into P7, and now we can start to set our sights on these front runners. It looks like already, as we can see, just from the way that the drivers are going around here on the first lap with the AIs, of course, using all of their battery as well, we seem to be in a very good rhythm here. We've got decent pace, and again, we had good pace in qualifying. We just didn't quite get that proper lap in together to really help us in that session as we now go down towards the last corner here, closing up now to the back of Sergio Perez. Gap just 0.2 of a second now as we go around the final corner here. That's a great exit as well off the last corner, using every bit of battery that we've got left now on this start-finish rate. We're closing up to Sergio Perez, getting closer. Purple final sector on that lap now as we go towards the first corner here. Get ourselves nice and tight there. Perez goes super defensive, even brakes a little bit later than we do, but down the inside into the first corner, and that's another move done. And it's 6th place then after just one lap, and that is half of the positions that we need to get to the to win out of the way. So let's go and have a look at the race start then and see how everybody got on here. So the 5 lights go out. Reese actually gets quite a decent start. Leclerc doesn't quite get the best start there. It was actually Sam that got a shocker of a start, and we'll have a look at this in just a moment here. But as you can see, for us though, we just picked the inside line into turn 1, got down the inside of a couple of cars, Verstappen, Ricciardo and Gasly to be precise. We obviously got, who was it, Norris off the line here. This is on board with Sam now, and he had an absolutely horrible start. One that he won't want to remember, starting in P4. Did not get off the line at all. Award goes by. I think that's Schumacher that's gone by. And then we're going to go down the inside in just a moment. Oh no, we didn't get down the inside of Sam. And then it actually loses another position there to Perez. Perez goes around the outside. And then we actually, Sam got overtaken by us then down the inside there. So this is now on board with Mick Schumacher, and he got a fabulous start. Award was starting even in front of him. Schumacher then getting 3 places off the line here. Now he's challenging De Vries here into the first corner, and he's even getting close to the back of Charles Leclerc now. As he go around the outside of turn 3 there, Schumacher goes to 3rd, so he gained 3 places then off the line. So a fabulous start from him. Lap 2 of the Grand Prix to start lap 3 here. We're closing up to the back of Award now, and it's quite clear we've got very good pace here. Resets the fastest lap of the race. We go ahead and beat that by a couple of hundredths of a second here as we're getting closer to the back of Award. There's no DRS yet. It's just been enabled now as we're going towards turn 1. Let's have a look here, doing a pass Award. I tried to go around the outside. Didn't work. Award cuts that off nicely. Now onto the straight here. We're going to have some DRS though to fight against Award up the straight towards turn 4. Will we have a run on Award? Not quite, but we're going to brake super late here and just try and dance it around the outside here. This is bold. This was brave. That's a beautiful attack here, but it's not over yet because Award is still with it in this section of the circuit. We get past Award though in the middle sector, but back comes Patrick Award as we go in towards the end, the second part of the middle sector now. We're able to cover it off down the inside there, but that's a lovely little scrap there from Award, but very opportunistic there to brake late around the outside of turn 4. If you've got a car with a better chassis, you can do that, and that happens a lot. So that's what we did on that occasion. This is at the back of the field though for Carlos Sainz here. He's currently under attack from Oscar Piastri, who's trying to go around the outside here into turn 1, in towards turn 2. Piastri, they slowed each other down quite a lot there, heading up towards turn 4 now. Who's going to have the DRS? None of them have got DRS here up towards turn 4. Sainz still has a look up towards turn 4, but he can't make that move stick. He has to settle back behind. Unfortunately for him, it's going to be another difficult afternoon here. We're on board now with Max Verstappen, who's trying to pass Sam here in the Red Bull down towards turn 1. Verstappen breezes past Sam down around the outside into turn 1 there. Not a very comfortable overtake for Sam to have to deal with there. Not quite sure why the Red Bull was so slow there, but back on board with us here on lap 5 of the Grand Prix. The pace is still very strong. Purple in the first sector, and now we're going a personal best in the middle, and now we're catching up to the back of De Vries here in the Mercedes as he's now on the back straight here. DRS is enabled for all of us now, but we're getting closer to the Mercedes, getting even closer. De Vries goes defensive now to the inside. That's what we want to do. De Vries tries to have a look at Schumacher there in towards the first corner. That was a bit brave from Nick De Vries then. Tried to turn the defence into an attack, but unfortunately he's turned that into a position loss, and it might just be 2 here because here comes Award now with the DRS up towards turn 4. He'll have the outside line, which does tend to favour the AIs here as they go into called combat here, and that's exactly what it does for Award. Brilliant run. And just driven right around the outside of De Vries there. And now lap 6 of the Grand Prix, we've caught up to Mick Schumacher in the Ferrari, who's battling with Charles Leclerc in the Audi. So if we can try and get our way past these two, that would be great. The DRS gets enabled now on the straight here, and there's our pit window coming into play here as we now try and press on to Schumacher here. He goes defensive to the inside line. That's what we want, because we want to go to the outside, nearly going into the back of Charles Leclerc there in all that. But you know what? We've got Leclerc as well in towards the first corner. That is an incredible move there from us, being able to get around the outside of not only Schumacher, but also Charles Leclerc. And speaking of Charles Leclerc, he's about to lose another place here, because here comes Schumacher, dances around the outside of Charles Leclerc, and that is a position gain for Schumacher, as well as myself there in the process of that. That was a beautiful double overtake, though, as no one needs to understand why we just went really wide there, but what we are doing is we're coming into the pits here for our first of 2 stops in this Grand Prix. Again, we could have started on the medium compound tyres in this race. We could theoretically be in a net P2, depends obviously how the medium tyres performed, and gone long and really put ourselves into play in this Grand Prix, but we're not going that way. We're going onto a set of the medium compound tyres. Now, interestingly enough, Reese there has come out on a set of soft tyres, Mick Schumacher's on a set of softs, so too is Charles Leclerc, so we're going a different way. I decided to switch up the 2-stop strategy and get the medium compound tyres done now, and there's a very calm and clever reason for it, and you'll find out later in the Grand Prix if it actually works out. Now, as we go on to the to carry on the field here, we're now down into P14 here, as we're now on board here with O'Ward and Perez now in towards the first corner. Sergio Perez makes the move on O'Ward. Of course, O'Ward just coming out of the pits here, but Patrick gets a fantastic run out of turn 2 and 3, up the run towards turn 4. Perez, even with DRS here, is not able to stay in front of O'Ward, who dances around the outside here of the Mercedes. O'Ward definitely using more of his battery, and that's another position gained for O'Ward. Here's Reese now on lap 9 of the Grand Prix. He's going down the inside of Theo Pourchaire, gets the move done. Pourchaire on medium compound tyres, doing the 1-stop strategy, like should probably be the way, but that's absolutely fine, as we're now on board here with Gasly, who's going for an attack here on one of the Mercedes. I think it's De Vries is actually going for an attack from. It is De Vries that he's going for a move on, and down the inside into the first corner. Let's see if Gasly can make this one stick, or if De Vries will hang it around the outside of turn 1. He'll have the better run through turn 2, and that'll help him in towards 3. Gasly will have the DRS though up towards turn 4, so too does Nick De Vries. So this is not going to be a comfortable move. If it is going to be a move, it's not going to be a move. Lap 10 of the Grand Prix, and we've now caught up to the back of Theo Pourchaire in the Audi, in the Aston Martin, and we're going to go ahead and get past him quickly, because we've got Mick Schumacher and Leclerc, who are really putting a lot of pressure on me in this stage of the race. We breeze past Theo Pourchaire, and I jump in front of Pourchaire. He's going to defend against Mick Schumacher here into the turn 1. I've got to sort of cover that a little bit, because Schumacher dove it a little bit down the inside into turn 1, but he has blocked off into Charles Leclerc, which is a little bit of a relief. But unfortunately, despite the fact that DRS will be enabled for Theo Pourchaire down in towards turn 4, Charles Leclerc will say thank you very much and just drive around the outside of Theo Pourchaire. Nothing that he could do on that occasion. Lap 11 of the Grand Prix. This is Reese now going for the second Aston Martin driver, and that's Oscar Piastri. Down the inside he goes with the DRS zone there, and that move is done and dusted, or not quite actually, because here comes Theo Pourchaire coming back now. Not Pourchaire, Piastri coming back at Reese there as they go round towards the last sector. Reese gets around the outside, and we're directly behind them actually, fighting with Carlos Sainz here. Here comes Piastri though. He's still trying to go for it versus Reese, but we've got to focus on ourselves, because here we are going around the outside here of Carlos Sainz. A little bit of contact there actually made between the two of us there. Reese now is side by side with Piastri. We've got the DRS open now. Schumacher's got it too. Piastri's actually got DRS on Reese here, so Reese is going to lose the position there to Piastri. That's critical for this Grand Prix, and we're now right on the back here of the race leader, or the net race leader, Reese here in this Grand Prix, who couldn't get past Piastri when he first had a chance. Now we've got an opportunity here up towards turn 4. Does Reese have enough to get past Piastri? No, unfortunately for him, he doesn't, and that is costly now in this Grand Prix. Lap 12 here, and you can see as we go a little bit wider once again here. Here comes Reese now. He's got a better run here on Piastri than he did on any other occasion as they go down towards the sector last corner. Reese looked like he was just behind Piastri on that occasion, so I don't think Oscar is going to get DRS on this pit straight now to try and come back at Reese now. Reese does have DRS here, so that's critical for this race here. Here comes ourselves now, trying to make a move here on Piastri. Will we make a double overtake here and go for it on Reese? We have a look here, but not quite. Reese actually locks up into turn 1 there, or that might have been me that went deep into the first corner, and we're through now into a net P2 in this Grand Prix. Reese is now still ahead of us, but we've got Bottas ahead in the Porsche that's going to cause even more chaos, and this is what I'm talking about here as we're on board here with Sergio Perez trying to find his way past Theo Pourchaire in the Mercedes and the Aston Martin. Perez just dances around the outside there on his soft compound tyres. That's going to give a run for Verstappen though to have a little look here as we're now on board here still with these guys. Going to go 3 wide now down the straight here. That was close there as they just cut each other off. Perez moving over to the inside line to cover it off here. Verstappen though goes down the inside of Theo Pourchaire. I think Max is going to have that one in the bag. He does. He swoops around the outside. That's giving Gasly now the opportunity to run at Pourchaire up towards turn 4. Both will have DRS here, so this is not going to be a simple move for Pierre Gasly, but Gasly says thank you very much. He's going to have to fight a little bit harder for this one though. Pourchaire will really not give this one up without a battle. Gasly though's got soft tyres on, so he should get this one done as he goes around towards the second sector. He does, takes that hairpin, inside line is his. Oh, and De Vries is going to go for it as well. Nick De Vries there tries to run it on Theo Pourchaire with the two Red Bulls hanging in behind here as they now swing left down in towards turn 11 here, and he should, De Vries, actually get that one done. DRS will be enabled, and he does. He breezes through, and now it's up to Sam to see if he can do the same treatment to Pourchaire. He's got more straight line speed in the Red Bull, brakes late down the inside. Sam is through, and Pourchaire, well, quite frankly, is just continuing to go even further backwards. Back on board here with Reese now on lap 13. There we are, just tucking in behind at this stage of the race. He's now going to try and make a move here on Valtteri Bottas down the inside into turn 1. Reese on his soft compound tyres. Nothing Bottas could do. He'll fight it as much as he can, but that's going to really compromise Bottas. We nearly actually hit the back of Valtteri then, heading up towards turn 4. Now we've got DRS to make our way up towards turn 4, and down the inside we go on Valtteri Bottas, and we're back now into second place in this Grand Prix. On board here with the Red Bull of Sam, who's chasing after De Vries in this race. A lot further back, these two, than where they really should be in this race. But Sam does try to get down the inside of De Vries. Nick holds it on in there, though, and does so. He manages to defend there quite nicely against Sam, who doesn't have DRS now on the run towards turn 4. And Ricciardo is going to try and make a move here. Here comes De Vries to try and make an attack. Sam swoops around the outside here. Sam making sure that he uses the chassis performance of that Red Bull to perfection there. That's a beautiful move, actually, from Sam, but it's not going to last much longer because one lap later, here comes De Vries coming back at the Red Bull as they go down in towards the first corner. Let's see what they can do here. We've got De Vries versus Sam versus Ricciardo. Lewis Hamilton now has joined the party, and there's going to be something crucial about Lewis Hamilton in just a moment here as we see De Vries defending again against Sam now as they make their way up towards turn 4. Here is Lewis Hamilton now making it 3 wide versus the Red Bulls down in towards turn 4. This is going to get very close here. Lewis and Ricciardo goes through. Sam loses 2 places in the span of that, but Hamilton is through. But what was crucial there is Lewis Hamilton is on the hard tyres. He obviously had a bad qualifying, and he's currently making his way through traffic at this stage of the race. Here we are now trying to attack Reese now in towards turn 4, and we've got a DRS fault here, so all of a sudden we're now in a little bit of spot of bother. That DRS is stuck open, so this is the first time, actually, genuinely, this is the first time in F1 2021 that my DRS has broken and it's now stuck open, which around Bahrain is not the worst thing to have in the world, but through that middle sector, it's going to cause me some problems. What's also causing problems for Mick Schumacher is Charles Leclerc, who is all over him right now. These two have already stopped for a second time. You can see they're on the medium tyres. They were the 2 drivers, remember, that were directly behind us in the race. And as you can see now, Pato O'Ward fancies to try and make this 3 wide into turn 4. He will make it 3 wide into turn 4. And you know what? He's going to dance around the outside. There he goes, into turn 4. O'Ward making up 2 places again. Leclerc gets a move done. Lap 18 of the Grand Prix. We're still pressing onwards in this race. Again, what I was trying to say is there's a... Oh, we got a yellow flag there in towards turn 3. That's one of the Porsche cars that's had a problem. It's Bottas then who's had a problem. A little bit of contact there with O'Ward, but unfortunately it looks like he's just going to lose the rear end. Oh, he's lost the rear... Oh, snap of oversteer there. Just catching him out. He's hit the barriers as well. He's probably going to have to pit there. And that's a big mistake, actually, from Bottas because he is on the hard tyres there and probably would have been running in the points. But for me now, by the way, my DRS is still stuck open. It's been stuck open now for about 4 laps in this race, and it's been really damaging the performance in the middle sector. But it was very helpful through all of the straights, as you could tell, being out in the lead. I don't normally get DRS, but on this occasion, I did. But we're coming into the pits now for a set of the soft tyres. Now, the reason I went onto the mediums in the middle stint is because all of the drivers are going to be out of position. Lots of cars to overtake. And that's what we saw with Reese, trying to get past the Aston Martins, the Porsche cars, etc. By doing that, it allowed me to stay in play with all of those drivers who were on the soft tyres. There's Reese now, right in front of us here. He's about to pass Callum Ilott in the Ford for what is going to be a net P4 in this Grand Prix. But he's 6/10 ahead of us, and we're now on a set of soft tyres versus him on a set of mediums. This puts us right into play now in this Grand Prix here, as we're going to follow on with Callum Ilott right in front of us here now, as we go in towards the middle sector here, a bit close then to going through that. Now, what the problem still is my DRS. Now, I think it either broke on lap 15 or lap 18 of this Grand Prix. And all of a sudden, the DRS has gone from being stuck open to being stuck closed. So as we go onto this straight here, we've got a great run here on Callum Ilott, but unfortunately, there's nothing I can do because there's confirmation there. The DRS is still closed. So by going into the pits, it actually sorted it slightly, but left us in a spot of bother. So it does mean, as you can see, we're going to have to try and do this in an unorthodox area. We've got a great run through this portion of the track now, and we're going to wait and go down the inside here of Callum Ilott in a very unorthodox location, but using the grip from the soft compound tyres to make that one work, as Reese here up ahead is now challenging George Russell as he go into the last corner here. This should be quite an easy move actually for Reese now as he goes on to the start finish straight here with the DRS. It should be a comfortable overtake now for Reese. He's even going to enable some ERS as well to just breeze past George, and there he goes, absolutely flies past the Audi there. Not a chance for George Russell to defend against that one, and that's just going to allow us now to have a little look here at Russell, and it's going to do so. We go right around the outside of George Russell, just like we did to Leclerc and Schumacher in the early phases of the Grand Prix. For some reason, braking super late and swooping right around the outside really does work a treat around here, lap 22 of the Grand Prix now, and we're onto the tail of Reese here as we go onto the start-finish straight, but unfortunately, no DRS still at this stage, and we're now going to have to try and overtake Reese on just pure straight line speed. Fastest lap of the race, as expected, being on the soft compound tyres, but it's a literal drag race now. Down towards turn 1 here, Reese brakes a little bit later, but we're able to just calmly plant the car into the first corner, and we're up into third place now. The gap is just 2.7 seconds between myself and Lando Norris, and 5 seconds between myself and Lewis Hamilton for a chance to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. We're getting into the latter stages now. Can we do it? We'll have to find out later on, as Leclerc here is going for a move on Pato O'Ward down the inside into turn 1. Leclerc just about keeps the car in the confines of the racetrack and not going into the side of Pato O'Ward. When he gets the DRS now up towards turn 4 here, he's got the ideal line as well. This should be an easy move for Leclerc. It is an easy move for Charles Leclerc. He now goes ahead of Pato O'Ward, who's got Schumacher all over the back of him. Looks like O'Ward struggling a little bit there. Another two set of drivers that are struggling is the Mercedes and the two Red Bulls. This is Perez, who's passing Oscar Piastri there. As we look further back here, Ricciardo is defending against De Vries now as they go into turns 1, 2 and 3 here. De Vries gets the move done. Lovely overtake there from Nick as Sam is trying to get onto the back here of the Aston Martin of Piastri and get the job done on him. Lap 24 of the Grand Prix for us now. We're closing up to the back of Lando Norris here for the fight for second place now as we get a yellow flag in the background there as we now go on to the start finish rate. We still don't have DRS in this. I mean, I don't know why I'm complaining as much because I've had it open for about 3 laps, but the DRS has been broken for about 6-7 laps now, maybe even longer than that. Round the outside though of Lando Norris, his hard tyres, no match for our soft compound tyres. Now we've got 2.5 seconds to close on Lewis Hamilton, who is on a set of the hard compound tyres, but my softs will be wearing out quite quickly. Of course, we've got about 9 laps for these soft compound tyres, and that's pretty much how far they'll go. You can stretch them, but at that point you are losing time and you're just trying to extend a stint here as Gasly tries to make a move on Pato O'Ward. He does make the move on O'Ward there as they go up towards 1, 2 and 3. O'Ward though comes back at Gasly in towards turn 4. This is going to be double trouble here for Pierre because Verstappen is also in the mix as well. Verstappen goes around the outside of Gasly and also O'Ward. O'Ward holds off Gasly, and what turned into a good attack from Gasly has turned into awful defending because he's lost 2 places there in the span of 1 corner as we're on board here with Russell and Ilott now as they go down towards turn 1 here. Callum Ilott with the DRS now down the inside here of George Russell. This is a fight for somewhere, a fight for the points. I think this is 6th or 7th here for these two. Russell though says no thank you and keeps his position versus Ilott, who's still got DRS down towards turn 4, but Russell heavily offensive there. Great positioning from George Russell, showcasing all of his skill to keep that 4 driver behind him. Lap 27 of the race, and this is the battle for the final spot on the podium. You can see up ahead, we're right on the back of Hamilton, as now Reese here is right on the back of Verstappen. Reese now goes through, and he's ahead of Lando Norris, sorry, not Max Verstappen. There is us there, closing up to Lewis Hamilton. Speaking of closing up to Hamilton, here we are then. We've got nearly just up, we've got a lap and a bit to go now. Pretty much 1 lap left to try and overtake Lewis Hamilton as we go down into the last corner here. The AIs are now going to deplete their entire battery, but have a look at the bottom right. Look what's come back to us. Bit of DRS here to go down the straight now as we go in towards the first corner, but Hamilton's using every inch of his battery to defend his position. We're going to the outside though, braking late into the first corner, swoop around the outside. This move has been done plenty of times by ourselves, and it's going to be to success again. Now onto the run towards turn 4. We're into the lead here, but Lewis Hamilton won't get DRS up towards turn 4, so it's a comfortable one for us now as we make our way through turn 4 and going a little bit wide there for good measure, but we get that move done and we're up into the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Now all we got to do is just hold it on for this lap and we'll be safely through and victorious for the 2nd race in a row. But of course, These AIs, like I said, they're going to be going maximum power, but we're already 7/10 clear. But we've got a DRS zone and another couple of straights to come up here, so we need to be constantly on the ball here now as we go onto the straight here. Lewis Hamilton will have DRS enabled with the battery also deployed to really close up, and he's doing so. Just 3/10 now is the gap as we go through towards the final sector out of the circuit. Back end sliding, soft tyres starting to fade now. Reese 2.1 seconds as well behind. You can see that the McLaren is closing in 1.9 sorry behind Hamilton, just 2/10 back now as we're going to bolt all of our battery down this straight here. We've got enough charge here to fend off against Lewis Hamilton. Brake late into the last corner here. One more piece to navigate. We've navigated that one, and this is going to be back-to-back wins in the F1 journey. Cross the line to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. Just about beating Lewis Hamilton there to the finish line. It got very close between the two of us, but in the end, our strategy managed to prevail, and we just about take the victory. And here is the full race classification then. So as you can see, we take the win and maximum points because we set the fastest lap of the race. The fastest lap was a 1 minute 24.454, and we went ahead and took maximum points for the second race in a row now. Lewis Hamilton finishes in second place yet again for Ferrari, only less than half a second behind as the checkered flag fell. Reese finishes in third place. He was 2.2 seconds behind in the end. Reese, of course, doing the same strategy with me. I just obviously swapped my tyre compounds around, and Reese got close in the end, actually. He did, as we obviously saw, overtake Lando Norris, who finished 3 seconds behind in the end. Mick Schumacher finishes in 5th for Ferrari, with George Russell rounding out in P6 for Audi. Callum Ilott secures Ford's first top 10 finish this season and a sensational 7th place for the young Brit. That one will be remembered by himself and plenty of others in the paddock. Max Verstappen finishes in 8th place for the second Jaguar driver. Pierre Gasly, our teammate, comes across the line in P9 to score some points, which is great. And then Pato O'Ward finishes in P10 for McLaren. Taking a look at the second half of the table now, and it was a bad race for both the Mercedes and Red Bull drivers, both of them having issues. So Sam finished the race in P11 with Sergio Perez finishing in P12 for Mercedes. Nick De Vries, the other Merc, finished in 13th with Daniel Ricciardo in P14. Oscar Piastri was 15th in the end with Carlos Sainz in P16 for Vodafone Porsche. Theo Pourchaire was 17th for the second Aston Martin driver, with Stoffel Van Dorn unable to do what his teammate did and get a solid point scoring finish. He only finished in 18th place. Valtteri Bottas finished in 19th place. And unfortunately for Charles Leclerc, the Audi, he was the only driver not to finish this race, which is a real shame. Unfortunately, that's the way things go in Formula 1. Taking a look now at the Drivers' Championship, and as you can see, we are now still top of the Drivers' Championship. We've extended our advantage out front. We are currently on 74 points in the Drivers' Championship. It is Lewis Hamilton that is second in the championship, but he is on 52 points and is currently 22 points behind ourselves in the championship, as you can see there on the right hand side. Reese is third in the championship for McLaren on 41 points. He now goes level with Sam. Of course, Sam not scoring here today and also at the Singapore Grand Prix, so it's been a double non-scoring finish for Sam. Both of them are on 41 points, leaving them 33 points behind in the championship. Daniel Ricciardo is 5th in the championship with 34 points to his name. Sergio Perez, is 6th in the championship with 32 points. Mick Schumacher is 7th with 25 points. Charles Leclerc has got 24 points with Lando Norris on 16 points. And Pato O'Ward is on 15 points. The next event is the F1 Journey Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Now let's go and have a look at the Constructors' Championship, and as you can see, a couple of things have changed in the Constructors. First things first, Ferrari are now your leaders in the Constructors' Championship. They're on 92 points, and they have got a 4-point gap over ourselves, Renault, at the top of the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull, after a double non-scoring points finish here today, are now down to 3rd in the championship on 75 points. And as you can see, McLaren are 4th in the championship with 56 points, with Mercedes down to 5th on 46 points. McLaren here today overtaking Mercedes. Audi and Jaguar are next. They stay where they are, but Audi are now up to 34 points, closing in on Mercedes with Jaguar on 24 points. They also picked up a good haul of points here today, with Lando Norris in particular. Ford, as I said earlier, with Callum Ilott picking up that P7, that puts them on 6 points above Aston Martin now, with Porsche still yet to get some points on the board. But that is it for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Let's get straight into the post-race notebook now, see what the teams and drivers had to say after the race. Taking a look at the post-race notebook, Tom secured back-to-back wins here in season number 9. He took victory at the Bahrain Grand Prix after executing an alternate two-stop strategy to beat Lewis Hamilton to the line and win the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton just missed out on P1, finishing in P2, with Reese sitting in P3 after also executing a two-stop strategy. All of the drama was not to do with any of these guys, but it was to do with Red Bull, specifically Sam and Dr. Helmut Marko. Sam and Helmut Marko were seen arguing with each other in the paddock after this Grand Prix. Of course, Sam didn't score any points in the last round of the Singapore Grand Prix, and once again failed to score points here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. But the two were seen arguing behind the scenes in the paddock. This had to force Christian Horner, Daniel Ricciardo and Adrian Newey to get into the middle of the two of them and stop them from arguing. What was said between the two is currently unknown, but of course the way that Red Bull tend to work is that if you cause problems, you're out. Is this the final time that we're going to be seeing Sam in a Red Bull car? Is this it? Has Sam officially lost his Red Bull drive? What's going on behind the scenes? We'll have to find out at the next race, which is the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But for now, we will see you guys in a week's time. Take care all. Peace.